Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight on the video, I'm going to be sharing about my first grade lessons for this week, and then a little bit about how I integrate those with things coming up in the next couple weeks. And also sharing about how I sort of use some of my first grade lessons and tie into LatinX and Hispanic Heritage Month. That's the plan. And so if you hear me say anything in the video like, that's cool, that's interesting, there's a whole page on my blog dedicated to the books, links, videos, everything I talk about on these Musical Mondays videos. I'm a little late in updating those, so if you are looking at that page right now, you're not going to find the video links that I'm sharing tonight, but I'll put them on tonight, so they'll be there by tomorrow morning. But that's if you go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click the video tab, you can find all the recaps for this school year, or you can just click the link at the bottom of the wherever you're watching this. It should be there too. Okay, also there's a Facebook group called Every Moment Matters Music Education Community. Come join us if you want to keep asking questions, talking about resources, finding other things along the way. It's a great place to continue the conversation, so please come and join us. My next workshop, this is like my last housekeeping, my next workshop is in less than 2 weeks. It's in Minnesota at the Minnesota Orff chapter. It's with the Minnesota Orff chapter at the University of St. Thomas, which I'm not sure if that's in Minneapolis or St. Paul. I can't remember. But it's coming up in less than 2 weeks. It's a week from Saturday. I hope if you're in the area, you'll join us. That's October 15th. It's 9 to 1. It's going to be so much fun. We're talking about improvisation and all the little steps and things you can do along the way to make improvisation easier for you and for your students. Okay, I lied. There's one more housekeeping thing. So, my partner and I adopted a dog this last weekend. We already had a dog, Lucy, who has been so sweet and wonderful. Last year, in the spring of last year, we lost our second dog, Millie, and poor Lucy has been a little bit lonely these last couple months, and we felt it was a great time for a second dog. So on Saturday, we got a new dog. His name is Samson, and I was a little stressed about leaving him alone downstairs or putting him back in his crate after all day. So he is here in my office with me, and it's our third full day with him. So he is still getting used to things. Anyway, so if I have to stop and check to make sure he's chewing on his chew bone and not the door stop, which he has tried to do maybe twice in the last half hour, I'm so sorry. And I'm sure he will come and want to be a part of the video in just a second, introduce himself. When that happens, I'll hold him up. But for now, I'm going to let him just chill because he's had a lot of wanting to explore things. Anyway, I'm sure he'll be here in a second, but just that's my heads up about all of that. Also, when I pulled out my ukulele to, you can sort of see him here in the background. When I pulled out my ukulele to play through, make sure it was tuned, and sing a little bit of the song I'm going to share tonight, he was very curious about that. So we'll see how this goes tonight. Anyway, heads up. Just wanted to share that. He is a bass, we think. He's a rescue from Springfield, Missouri, which is not that far from Kansas City. We think he is a Basset, Beagle, Dachshund mix, but we're not really sure. Also not sure how old he is, 2 or 3, don't know. We're learning a lot about him. But anyway, if you hear a bark, a very loud bark, or if you see him jump up, I'll introduce him. But anyway, that's just heads up, just in case you're there. Or if you're listening on the podcast, if you're surprised if you hear a bark or scratching or something, it's not me, it's my dog. Oh, look, see, there he is. He's very interested in my music ed books. He wants to smell. Anyway, okay, so this week I'm talking about first grade, and I'm going to be sharing, now, first grade in previous lessons earlier this year has learned the traditional song, Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. The head, shoulders, knees, and toes, they know that one. And in that lesson several weeks ago, when I did it, the first day we did that song, many of them already sort of knew it, so we just sang through it like normal. We learned all the actions. And they loved it. It was great. And in that lesson, then I said, okay, great. After 2 or 3 times of doing it, I was like, oh, great. Okay, now, no, Samson. No. Come here. You're okay. Anyway, sorry. In that first lesson, I said instead of just singing everything, I want you to just think the word head, but not sing it. So just think. So shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, and toes. So first we did it singing several times. Then I had them take out one word, and then we slowly took out more until we had taken out all the words, and we just thought them, we audiated them as I was singing there with them, standing there with them doing the actions. The second day I did it, I played the piano, so they could still hear the melody of shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, and toes. See, Samson needed to get in the video. Samson, say hi. He's like, no, thank you. Anyway, this is Samson, sorry. He's very inquisitive. He's still learning. He's a cutie. Okay, you ready to be put down? Probably not, but... Okay, sorry. So that was how I did head, shoulders, and knees and toes initially. But in this lesson, the kids come in, we do our circle song. This is first grade. And, see, he's back. He's like, doesn't know what's going on. We do our circle song, and I say, oh, great, I have a new song for you. And I put up the same slide that I used for head, shoulders, knees, and toes, which is a clip art picture of kids doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I actually just took body percussion clip art or some sort of clip art I already had that worked and put that up there. And the kids knew that as... No, sir. The kids knew that as the head, shoulders, knees, and toes picture. So, and I said, but this is not the same head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And we sang through the version that we already knew once. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees, and toes. We sang the version through that they knew, and then I said, here's a new version. It sounds sort of the same, but it's not exactly the same. Head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, head and shoulders, head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Now you could do that in F. I've elected to do it. It feels like I'm playing C, F, and G, but I'm capoing in the 2nd fret. So when you put a capo on the 2nd fret, it moves everything up 2 half steps. So really I'm playing in the key of D. I'm playing in the key of D, but it feels like I'm playing in C. Now I'm doing that with my kids right now because for this version, I'm doing a lot of the singing. And I could bump it up to F or something because F would be easy to play, but for my kids, I'm just doing it right now in D. That's just my choice. It lives a lot up in the upper end of D, so it goes bum ba dum ba dum ba dum, me so me ba dum ba dum. Like it goes down to low so, but I don't know. I just elected to do it in D, and that seemed right for my kids in this week. But you do it wherever you want to do it. So the song goes head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, head and shoulders, head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. So the first time I lead them through it, I say, just listen and see if it's the same head and shoulders or a different head and shoulders. And they decide that yes, it is a different head and shoulders. And I say, okay, this next time, whenever you hear 1, 2, 3, just show me on your hand. 1, 2, 3, and you can do 1, 2, 3 like the sign language version. You can do 1, 2, 3 like the American, like, you know, numbering, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. But I just have them do an action where they do the 1, 2, and 3 just to identify that in the song. And then I sing it again, and I let them identify that. And I say, okay, great. This time, when you hear head and shoulders, can you add in head and shoulders? Point to your head, point to your shoulders, and then do the action 1, 2, 3. Easy peasy. Head and shoulders, baby. 1, 2, 3. I'm still singing. They're just doing the actions. They're sort of getting the form and the idea of the song just by listening and adding those actions in. So I sing through that 2 or 3 times where I ask them just to do actions, and then I say, okay, great, there's a word in there that seems sort of like a little bit out of place or is different, definitely not in the original head and shoulders. Can you try and figure out what that is? Just listen and do your actions. Head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Head and shoulders, head and shoulders, head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. And what's that word? And they're like, it's baby. And I was like, right, are we singing to a baby? We're singing this song to a baby. We're teaching it about its body, its head and shoulders. And they're like, no, that doesn't seem right. And I say, do you know someone, or have you ever met someone who says like, oh, hey, honey, hey, sweetie, hey, friend, hey, you know, whatever. Hey, honey, hey, sweetie, hey, buddy. You know, like, what do they say? You know, and they're like, oh, yeah, I've met that person or whatever. And I say, I knew somebody who she called everyone baby. Hey, baby, how you doing? I'm not a baby. I'm a second grader. I know you're not a baby, but hey, baby, what you doing? Oh, baby. And it was a lunch lady, I think. It was like, hey, baby, do you want the mac and cheese or you want the broccoli or whatever? So I just sort of play it up as this thing. And I say, so in this song, are we actually singing to a baby? No. We're singing to someone, and we're just calling him baby. Easy peasy. So eventually we learn the song. They get it. They add in all the parts. And then we change the words. So instead of just head and shoulders, baby, 1, 2, 3. Maybe we do a verse of knees and toes, baby, 1, 2, 3. Knees and toes, baby, 1. And so we do a version of each. It takes 15 seconds to sing through a version. So we do a head and shoulders. We do a knees and toes verse. We do an eyes, ears verse. We do a mouth, nose verse. That's all the initial actions from the original song, right? Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, if we're doing it in the order of the original song. And I say, this is great, except this song is sort of short and I want to keep singing it, and we're out of body parts. Like, what could we do? We could, And sometimes kids jump right in, and other times I need to lead them in. So I may be like, hair and tummy. Hair and tummy, baby, 1, 2, 3. So we immediately start in on new variations. And then I let kids choose. And I say 2 body parts, but it can't be the ones we've already used. We've used head, shoulders, knees, toes, eyes, ears, mouth, nose. What else could we do? Okay, and I have literally every time, especially when there's a para or an administrator in the room, I am always so nervous that they're going to like shout out body parts that they shouldn't be shouting out in music class. I've always been worried about it, but it has never happened. In fact, sometimes kids will say like butt, and I'm like, oh, okay, you mean like bottom. At school we say bottom or whatever, you know, or it's like sometimes I've never had a kid try and throw in a body part that should not be mentioned at school. And part of that, honestly, if it does come up, and it might, I've been like mentally prepared for every week for this to happen. If it does come up, you can always talk about like, is that appropriate for school? You know, that's really a part that like my kids go through this training called Happy Bear, which is like, it teaches them about their body parts, it teaches them about private parts, and it teaches them about appropriate and not appropriate touch. It's a really cool program. It comes in, it's a community service program that comes in and teaches them. They go to an assembly. Anyway, but my kids know what is like an appropriate thing to talk about and not an appropriate thing to talk about at school or with other people. What's an appropriate and not appropriate touch. It's very good for them so they know like, oh, this person is not touching me in a way that is okay. Because some kids don't know that. And so anyway, it's a cool program, but they've already had that training. So if some kid brings that up and say, you know, you're right, that's a part of our body, absolutely, but do you think that we should use it in this game? Probably not. That's like a part that's like a private one that we don't really talk about all the time in like music class, right? Like we should know about it and whatever. Anyway, I'm always prepared to like have that conversation if needed. It has literally never come up. So I'm not saying it won't for you, but like anyway. So I let kids come through and think about different actions. It gets really interesting actually after a while because they sort of run out of ideas. And so they're like, elbow, leg. And so usually they'll give me body parts where I can either use them as is, like elbow, leg, you know. It's actually better if you have a 1 sound and then a 2 sound to follow, like head, shoulders. So if you like leg and elbow, baby, 1, 2, it just flows better. Elbow, leg, baby, 1. It just doesn't flow as well. So because that the da 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 da, it just, I don't know, it works better if you have a 2 sound body part second. So you could, if they give you something like elbows and chin, you could say, great, let's do chin and elbows. Here we go. Chin and elbows, baby. 1. And then you're still using your choice. You're just flipping the order so that it works a little bit better in the song. I don't ever have kids be like, no, elbow, chin in that order. Like no one's ever said that. So I'm like, oh, great. I love that suggestion. And kids just love being able to come up with different things. I usually do this a couple days in a row. So the first time, the day that we learn it, which is the day I'm talking about right now, we just sing through, they come up with ideas. Maybe the second day we do it, I actually list as we go so that like we can say like, oh, we did that one, we did that one, we did that one. Because as you go, they're like, did we do that one? Yeah, we did. I don't see, I'm listing out which ones we've done. We've done that one. And so that you can keep going. Another step in this progression is this song actually has other verses that are like original to the song, where you do something like... jump and jive, baby, 1, 2, 3, jump and jive, baby, 1. So you can add different actions there. I think that one of the original ones is kick the bucket, baby, 1, 2, 3. Which when my kids do that, I have them literally pantomime kicking a bucket. I don't know if this is originally about like death or not, but we just pantomime that. So you can have them do whatever you want. I also have kids will do other actions like in and out, baby, 1. So we jump in and out, or front and back, baby, 1. So we'll flip around, or right and left, or whatever you want to do. You can change the song however you like. It's a cool song. It gives you lots of opportunity for variety, and it's fun because they think that it's like a version of the original Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, and it is, but only in the words. And only just in Head and Shoulders. Literally everything else is different. But they think that it's connected, it's fun, and because they've already done Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, this feels like a good progression. So, Head and Shoulders, Baby, it's a great song. After we do Head and Shoulders, Baby, we move on, and I have a book to share with them. And I always talk about, with kids, I say, my posters out in the hall, all those famous musicians that you see in the hallway, and then some of the books that are out there, or books that are on my bookshelf, or books that are featured on the cabinet or whatever. Have you noticed those? I just put those out just a little while ago. They're actually for a special reason. It's actually because it's actually it's LatinX Heritage Month, or Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm so excited because I have a great book that I wanted to share with you. And it's one of these books that's from Latinx or Hispanic Heritage Month. And for first graders, I could go into like the specifics about the month. This month is I think one of the hardest to explain because it's not just a month. It's not the month of September. It's September 15th to October 15th. So for some kids, that in and of itself is a little tricky. But I try and explain it as best I can in first grade terms, and I say, this is a month where we honor people who have a heritage or who come from Spanish-speaking countries. Now, that's not actually the exact truth to the month. It's not just Hispanic, or not just Spanish-speaking countries. It is also all of Latin America. So like Brazil would not fall in because it's not a Spanish-speaking country, but we call it part of Latin America. So that's one of the reasons that some people say Hispanic Heritage Month, or Latino Heritage Month, or Latinx Heritage. They use different terms because really, it's tricky to say like just the one, because like Brazil is thrown out if you don't, say Latino or Latinx. And then if you just say Latino and you don't say Hispanic, well then Spain is thrown out because Spain is not part of Latin America. So it's sort of tricky. But anyway, for my kids, I just sort of simplify and say we're celebrating the people who either have a heritage from or are from countries that speak Spanish. And that's just sort of the way I simplify it, just for first grade. And I cycle back a couple years later and talk about some more of the details, but in this quick moment, that's what I say. And I have this great book that I love to share with you called The Best Mariachi in the World. And then actually underneath the title, The Best Mariachi, it says, El Mejor Mariachi del Mundo. Which, what do you think that means? Hold on, let me say it again. The best mariachi in the world, El Mejor Mariachi del Mundo. And if they can't figure out what exactly that means, I say actually, this is Spanish, and this is the best mariachi in the world. If you translate it into Spanish, you say El Mejor Mariachi del Mundo. Isn't that cool? Because it's a book honoring someone from a Spanish-speaking country, and it uses Spanish. How cool is that? Actually, look down here. The author, it says written by J.D. Smith. Oh, and then it says escrito por J.D. Smith. What do you think escrito por means? And we've just had this moment where we've talked about, here's the title, here it is in Spanish. So when they say written by, escrito por, they're like, oh, escrito por means written by. Yeah, illustrated by, ilustrado por. Oh, ilustrado por means illustrated by. Oh, that's so cool. Danny Jones. Wow, that's so cool. So then we start in the book. I'll just read a little bit of it. Gustavo was the worst mariachi in the world. Everyone else in the family band could play an instrument, but not Gustavo. He did not play songs at weddings or at restaurants. He did not wear un traje de charro or un sombrero. And kids at this point are like, what? And I say, oh, hold on, look at these words. Did you hear any words that seemed like they sort of stood out? Which is what we did in the song Head and Shoulders. Is there a word in here that doesn't seem to fit or is not from the original or sort of stands out as different? And in that song, it was baby. In this song, they hear words like mariachi, maybe, or un traje de charro, which probably those words don't make a lot of sense unless they speak Spanish. And I say, if you look closely at the words here, those words are red. The words that are red, and the words that are red are actually in Spanish. Because remember, and I go back to what are we talking about when we do Hispanic Heritage and Latinx Heritage Month? What is that about? People from Spanish-speaking countries most often. And so we talk about these words that are in red are in Spanish. Un traje de charro means like the outfit, the suit that a mariachi wears. And un sombrero is a hat. And a lot of times when we talk about a sombrero, we think about this one, this style of hat. But it can really be any hat. But anyway, so we talk about that. Poor Gustavo is the worst mariachi. He can't play an instrument. He doesn't join the band. Sometimes he reached for the bow of his brother Raimundo's violin. Raimundo quietly said, "Don't touch the bow of my violin. You might break it. It's not for you." Oh, wait, there's a red word again. Violin. What do you think that means? And they're like, violin. Yeah, because it just said play Raimundo's violin, so violin must be the Spanish way to say violin. Sometimes Gustavo tried to play his Uncle Enrique's brass trumpet. Uncle Enrique gently said, "Put down la trompeta. You might drop it. It's not for you." La trompeta, what do you think that is? And again, they sort of can help figure that out. Gustavo did not even try to pick up his father's guitarrón. It was taller than he was. Now that's a tricky one because a guitarrón is not really a guitar. A guitarrón is its own special instrument. It's like a much bigger version, but it looks sort of like a guitar. But anyway, but they can make the connection that like it is a guitar-ish instrument. Gustavo wondered how it would feel to strum the long strings, the long cuerdas. That's trickier for kids because it is not a cognate. A cognate meaning it does not sound in Spanish like the word in English. Cuerdas does not sound like strings. It's not stringas, but it's cuerdas. So anyway, but when I re-say the sentence, Gustavo wondered how it would feel to strum the long strings, the long cuerdas. They can hear the sentence structure helps them, the long strings, the long cuerdas. So they can figure out, and it's just a word in red, so they can figure out probably that's a Spanish word. And so I do take the second to go back. Anytime there is a red word, I'll go back and read it again and say, like, what do you think that word means? Can you figure that word out? And this is something we ask kids to do in reading all the time, to read something within its context, to use your context clues, to read something within the sentence, to try and understand what it means. This book is a great example of doing that, only instead of introducing new vocabulary in English that's going to push them, it adds in Spanish vocabulary, which is awesome. Let me reread from the beginning. Gustavo wondered how it would feel to strum the long strings, the long cuerdas. He imagined everyone would listen. People would look at him, the men and women would get up and dance, all the children would dance and clap. He would be Gustavo, the great mariachi. But that would never happen. No one would let him play. He'd always be the worst mariachi in the world. And if you look up here at this picture, is that what's actually happening or is that him imagining? And the kids are like, that's him imagining because it's the picture is up above him. You can see little Gustavo in the foreground and that's up in the background and he's wearing the sombrero and he's wearing the traje and he's doing all that and he's playing a guitar. And so you can tell that's just his imagination, him planning and thinking. So anyway, people keep saying, this isn't for you. Don't touch our instruments. Don't try. And so then one morning he gets up before dawn and he goes out into the desert and he is just inspired by the beautiful view, by the stars and by the different kinds of cacti. And he hears an owl and he hears a coyote. He's so excited. And there was no one there to play, but he just had to sing. So he stands up and sings and he starts singing. And every day he goes back and he sings. And the first day he's just like his lips are moving. And the next day he whispers the words. And the third day he starts singing quietly. And then he starts singing louder. And every day he goes out, he sings a little bit louder until he's singing and he forgets where he is and he forgets the context that it's like before dawn and he just starts singing. But people hear him and they wake up and they come out and find him and he just keeps singing. I love this page. Gustavo kept singing. He sang of traveling men. He sang of faraway places and of coming home again. He sang all the songs he knew. He sang all las canciones that he knew like his own name. And again, you can see his imagination, him thinking about the horse and the rider. And then the people come and hear him and they think that he's great. And so they say, Gustavo, you are a mariachi. We need you because we don't need just the instruments. We need singers. And so he comes out and they invite him to be a mariachi and join the family band. And at the end, it says, the next time the band played, Gustavo wore un traje de charro, he wore un sombrero, and he sang las canciones that had brought everyone outside. And as the people clapped and cheered, he took off his sombrero and took a deep bow. This, Gustavo thought, is for me. And I love that because there are so many times in the book where people say, this isn't for you. This isn't for you. And he's like, this is for me. And I may not be doing it the way they are doing it. I'm not playing an instrument, but I am important too. And it's just such a cool book. And it does introduce Spanish words and phrases. It also introduces kids to the tradition of mariachi music, which if they haven't heard it, is great as a great introduction. And if they have heard it, it's also a great introduction because it gives them some connection. They're like, I have heard that somewhere, or I think I've heard that somewhere. And especially when they see the iconic outfit, the traje of the mariachi musicians, then they're like, I know what that is. I've seen that before. I don't know maybe where I've seen, but I've seen it. And so I love letting kids sort of see and explore that. And then if we have time in this lesson, I follow up with a video I found on YouTube. I think it's going to play, but I don't think you're going to be able to hear the sound. So this is a video that comes actually from a Netflix show that I've not seen called something. I don't know. I need to look up the name. I'm not actually seeing the movie Ashley Garcia. Okay. So it's Ashley Garcia, and in this video, I'm going to see if I can pull this up, because technology always works so well the first time. It does not, but we're going to try. Okay, so in this video, you can see these two mariachi musicians, and so in the video, I don't think you're going to be able to hear the sound, and that's okay. It's going to be real quiet. So it also comes... It comes, so right now you can see on the bottom, right now it has Spanish subtitles. You don't have to have that. You can take that off if you want. So I'll actually just pop those off, the closed captioning. But what these two do is they go through and they explain all the different parts, well, many different parts of this mariachi tradition. So they go through, let me see if I can find the different parts. They show off the different parts of the traje. So, oh wait, they're going to sing. Okay, but she shows him, okay, so there's the vest, there's the pants, there's the white button-down shirt, there's the moño, which is the bow tie, there's the, some women often wear like red lipstick. So it's just sort of an iconic outfit that people might have seen before, kids might have seen before. And they talk a little bit more about it. They talk about what you have to do in the song, and then they bring out mariachi musicians, and they go through each one. There's a trumpet, there's a violin. Let me see if I can get a picture of all of them. There's a guitarrón. So there's the bass guitar. You can really see that is not a regular guitar. There's a vihuela, which is like sort of like a smaller guitar. It's like a different version. Then there's an actual guitar, and then they sing Cielito Lindo. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, which you might have heard before. They sing it all together. Ooh, one other fun part that they talk about is the grito. And the grito is like a scream. It's like that, ah, 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 like you hear sometimes, or like a trill, or things that you might have heard in mariachi music. They give great examples of them, many different examples, and then they sing it in the song. So super cool. It's what, 5 minutes. It's free. It's because Netflix put out this special, or this movie, TV, I don't know, Ashley Garcia. And so they have it out there, and this is a free video. If you just search, well, if you click the link on the links page, you can find it. Or if you search, what is mariachi, and Netflix, you'll find it. And then another free video that oftentimes I show them, again to make connections, is there is a free video from Disney Pixar. If you search for... Un Poco Loco from Coco, you're going to find it on the Disney Music Vivo channel on YouTube. And it's just 2 minutes long, and it's him singing Poco Loco from Coco. And if you watch him do it, the cool thing is that they do the grito, you see people in the iconic outfits, you hear, and kids make this connection because they're like, I've seen that, I know what that is. And so you're making connections, again, to the story and to mariachi. It's just a really cool connection for kids, and they love it, and they love the music. One more thing you can think about if you want, there's actually a book based on Coco. It's called Miguel and the Grand Harmony. It's by Matt de la Peña. He wrote it, illustrated by Ana Ramirez. He's a Newbery winner. I know I've shared about this before, and actually I have a whole series on It's on YouTube and on my Facebook page where I've gone through books that I use for Latinx Heritage Month. So if you're interested in all those, I'll link those on the links page so you can go see them all if you want. But I know I shared about this, and I actually read through it in one of those videos, so I won't read it to you now in case you want to go look at it. But it even says on the front, inspired by the film Coco. So it goes through, it's loosely based around the story of Coco, and one of the cool things is that there are these musicians, a trio of musicians that start out, and later on in the story you find out that those musicians, who in this picture are just wearing like plain clothes, are actually mariachi, and you can see them in the traje with their sombreros, and you can see them again. So it's cool for kids because they've seen it in the story, Best Mariachi in the World. They've seen it in the video from Netflix. Now they're seeing it in this book, and they're making connections. And so these books are really great. It connects to Coco, which a lot of them love. It connects to music they might have heard before, like at a restaurant or out, out shopping or wherever, or maybe on TV or maybe at home. And it helps them make connections. This is a really super simple way, both of these books and these example videos, to help kids see that connection and understand culture within context, and help them understand, oh, this music you're hearing, it's called mariachi. Or these groups, these are the sorts of people you'll see playing it. You'll see like a trumpet or a violin or guitar. Or they usually wear these outfits. They start to make those connections. And I think that's just super cool and valuable for them. If you ever have an administrator who's like, you can't show videos. Well, this is a great video to say, like, it's free, it's online. I can't bring a mariachi band in to play for just 6 minutes for my first graders, but I've got this example, this real world example. And I think this is one of those times where we can absolutely advocate for, I should be able to show this video, because are you going to provide the bus for me to take them to find a mariachi band? Are you going to provide money to bring a mariachi group in? Or no? Okay, well, I've got this really super simple clip. Please watch it, whatever, and here's the link. Send it to your administrator. And I doubt they're going to be like, no, you can't show, because it is such a great, cool example of mariachi music, and it helps to illustrate the things that you're reading in the book. Also, this book, oh my gosh, this book is like meant for language acquisition, and not just Spanish. But if you read through this book the way that we talked through it tonight, and an administrator sees that, they're going to be like, wait a minute, you're teaching kids to look for key words. You're teaching kids to look for highlighted words that the author might have pointed out on purpose for them. You're teaching kids to read and understand things in context. All the stuff that I point out to kids is basic ELA. Like, it is basic what they are doing in their classroom. So if an administrator sees me sharing the book in this way, they're going to be like, oh, you're reinforcing language acquisition. You're reinforcing ELA skills. And I'm like, yes, but I'm doing it in an authentic way. This is why you shouldn't make me like have kids write out a sentence stem about some random thing that really doesn't connect to our lesson. You should let me integrate ELA skills in a way that makes sense for my classroom and my content. And that's exactly what this is. So books like this are great, because then you can continue to reinforce great things for kids, teach them new things, and you can reach your building initiatives. So anyway, these books are so cool. I'll have them linked on the links page if you want to look at them. Like I said, I've done several videos where I go through books for Latinx Heritage Month. I'll try and link those on the links page too. And of course, I'll put the videos that I showed you tonight from the Coco video from Disney, and also the Ashley Garcia. I need to watch that TV show. The one from Netflix that explains mariachi. I'll put both of those on the links page in case you're interested. Okay, and in a nutshell, that's my first grade lessons from the week. And in both of the lessons, I just sort of expand upon and extrapolate upon some of the things in those lessons. You could take it and make it first grade. You could take it and make it second grade. You could take it and make it whatever you want. But I wanted to share just sort of how I do it in this lesson. And like I said, all these ideas are on the links page if you're interested. If you have questions, I see one I'm going to try and answer really quickly. But if you have questions, please, if you're listening or you're watching on Facebook, and it's maybe not Monday night, it's Tuesday or Thursday, add your question anyway. I always go back to questions and I try and answer them as much as I can. Emily says, do you paraphrase the book like that for the kids, but obviously still reading the pages with the red Spanish words? It seems this is what needs to be done to save class time. No, I read through the book as is, and I stop and I go back to those sentences with the red words. So like an example of that would be like exactly what I did here. So Gustavo wondered how it would feel to strum the long strings, the long cuerdas. He imagined, cuerdas, what do you think that means? Let me read that sentence again. Gustavo wondered how it would feel to strum the long strings, the long cuerdas. Oh, the long strings, the long cuerdas. Well, I don't know what the word cuerdas means, but if we use the information in the sentence, what do you think that it means? He wondered how it would feel to strum the long cuerdas. What do you think that might mean? And so, yeah, I take it every time I stop for a second like that, it adds 10 seconds. 15 seconds, but I'm not saying like, okay, everyone, raise your hand. Let's discuss this idea for 2 minutes. It's like a little burst of that in there, and it doesn't really take that long. Reading the book itself takes, I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 if you want to really stop and discuss all the things in there. My classes are 30 minutes, and I get in Head and Shoulders Baby with student actions and reading the book and the 7-minute video about mariachi from Netflix. Maybe Coco if I've really been pushing everything from the beginning, because the Coco clip is just 2 minutes. But no, it doesn't have to take a super crazy long amount of time. But when you give them that context of like, oh, these new extra words, they start listening for them more. The cool thing is that most of that work of like, what does this word mean? How does this word incorporate? Happens on the first page. So as you keep reading, really there are less of those red words and more where kids can sort of just on their own figure it out. So like, here's another example. This is towards the end. He sang all the songs he knew. He sang all las canciones that he knew, like his own name. Oh, wow. He sang all the songs. He sang all las canciones. Las canciones must mean the songs. Yeah, okay. And and then canciones comes up again. So once we've explained it once, I don't need to go back and explain it again, unless I really wanted to. But as you go, you don't have to do as much of that like in context work. We're not, cutting and stopping every sentence of every page. But the first couple pages, to get them in that mindset of you need to be thinking about what does this word mean in context. Yeah, I do stop a little bit there. But it doesn't take maybe as long as you might wonder it would. Try it once. Emily, thanks for that question. Try it once, see how you feel, see how that works. And if it does work for you, great. And if not, they're probably going to bring some of those ELA skills into the lesson anyway, and they'll probably do it on their own. But it helps to reinforce and to bring that out and encourage that. Okay, if you have more questions, please leave them on the video or leave them on wherever you're listening to this, or join the Facebook group, Every Moment Matters Music Education Community. Ask those questions. I'll post all these links in the next few minutes so that they're there if you want to look at them a little bit later tonight. But thanks so much for coming along with me on this Monday night. I hope I'll see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.